2 miners were killed in a suspected rocket attack at their home at Throngla Bubi Awang Lekai in Manipur's Bishnupur district.
Peace nahi hai. This is one of the longest red nights that Manipur has been a part of. We are unstoppable. We want peace now.
Seventh of April, 2 children were killed in a bomb attack in Bishnupur. Their mother severely injured. On 18th of April, a militant ambush in Manipur killed 2 people, including a retired Indian Army soldier. Since 7th of April, more than 5 killings are reported without any arrest. No mainstream media is showing this to the greater India, and the Northeast is still being ignored. Manipur once again on the edge of collapse. Manipur is not just a place. It's a battlefield of identity, land, history and power. And today, you are going to understand how an entire state slowly turned into a war zone. To understand Manipur, you need to understand its geography. Not just maps, but how people live within them. Manipur is often described as a stadium. At the center, the pitch, and surrounding it, the stands. The pitch is the Imphal Valley, just 10% of the land, but the economic and the political heart of the state. This is where Meiteis live. Now look at the stands, the surrounding hills. They make up 90% of the Manipur's land. The northern hills are dominated by Naga tribes and the southern and the western hills are dominated by Kuki-Zo groups. So here is the imbalance: population, land and political power, all misaligned. This conflict is not only isolated to Manipur. Naga groups have influence from Nagaland and the Kuki-Zo communities are linked to Myanmar. And then there is something even darker. This conflict isn't just ethnic. Manipur lies close to the Golden Triangle, one of the world's largest drug trafficking zones.
In Manipur, authorities have uncovered large-scale illegal poppy cultivation through the use of drones. During an aerial survey in upper and lower Khabung villages of Senapati district, police and forest officials detected nearly 13 hectares.
So the conflict is also tied with drug routes and arms smuggling and cross-border militancy. In 1960, a law was introduced, the Manipur Land Revenue and the Land Reforms Act. It prevented the Meiteis from buying land in the hills to protect the tribal communities. But here is the twist. The tribal groups could still settle in the valley. So over time, Meiteis were restricted to just 10% of the land but made up more than half of the population. This created something dangerous: land pressure plus identity fear. And then came Article 371C, giving hill areas separate political safeguards. To Kukis and the Nagas, this meant extra protection and more power and control over Manipur's land. To Meiteis, this felt like a division. This division didn't even begin in 1960. It began in the colonial rule. The British made a very critical decision. They treated valley and the hills as separate administrative worlds. The valley is a princely state and the hills are the autonomous tribal regions. This was the first formal divide. And after independence, instead of removing that divide, India inherited it. This conflict is not just about land, it's about who belongs. Meiteis trace their roots to ancient kingdoms and dynasties. The Kuki-Zo tribe claimed centuries-old presence in the hills. A competing narrative labels them as migrants brought by the British. Now imagine this: 2 communities living side by side, but one believes we are the original rulers and the other is told you don't even belong here. This is the identity warfare. Originally the region is known as Kangle Pak. Then in the 18th century, King Pamheba converted to Hinduism and renamed the kingdom as Manipur. This wasn't just a name change, it marked a shift from indigenous traditions to a more Hindu identity, and that widened the gap between valley and the hills even farther. In 1819, the Burmese invaded, a devastating period known as the 7 Years' Devastation. In 1826, the Treaty of Yandabu was signed. It ended a war, but at a cost. Manipur became a subsidiary state under the British control. Its king remained, but the power didn't. And this marked the beginning of the external control over the internal identity. Then came 1949. The king of Manipur, Bodh Chandra Singh, initially agreed to join India, but only partially. But then he was taken to Shillong, placed under pressure, and made to sign a full merger agreement. For many in Manipur, this wasn't an integration, it was a forced absorption, and that memory still lives on. Then came April 2023. High Court suggested granting ST status to Meiteis. If that happened, they could buy land in the hills. To the tribal communities, this was an existential threat, but tensions were already rising. The government had begun evicting Kuki settlements from the forest land. The government called it environmental protection, but to Kukis, it was a ethnic targeting. So on May 3, 2023, a tribal solidarity march was organized, and then violence erupted. Within days, villages burned, communities divided, and thousands displaced. Manipur had crossed into war. Out of 60 assembly seats, 40 are controlled by the Meiteis. So even though the tribes control land, they feel politically outnumbered. Which is why Meiteis ST demand is a red line. Because if they get it, power plus land is dominance. By 2025, the system collapsed. The chief minister resigned. President rule was imposed. Then came the most dangerous phase. Weapons looted from the state armories. Over 6,000 firearms and 6 lakh rounds of ammunition were looted. Civilians become fighters and the violence become organized.
A young woman who was abducted and then gang raped during ethnic clashes in India's Manipur back almost 3 years ago has now died. Her family said she died of an illness aggravated by the trauma she went through. She was then attacked, blindfolded, and then taken away by a group of armed men.
As the two students drag out from their rented house and drag out in front of everyone in that locality, hand over to rep. I don't even want to name them. Who did this? Everybody knows that. Killed. And the body is not identified by the family because Imphal is not reachable for the Kukizo. The body is lying in one of the hospitals in Imphal.
So who is responsible? History, politics, migration, or militants? The answer is all of them. Manipur is not just divided by land. It is divided by memory, fear, and trauma. It's a warning of what happens when identity becomes stronger than unity. And when a society stops asking, who are we together? And starts asking, who belongs here?